Sometimes adding in more and trying to split into more parts does not always make for better results.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll anybody to drive. Get in the car.
Fucking shit! Fuck me in the fucking ass! Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt!
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review. This review is going to be for the second entry of the Hobbit trilogy, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, directed by Peter Jackson. And, what is the plot of The Desolation of Smaug? Well, continuing from where Unexpected Journey ended, Thorin had renounced his hatred for Bilbo. They had managed to cross over and under the Misty Mountains, and they are now overseeing the Lonely Mountain, and they're getting closer. So, they successfully did all that in the last film, so now Thorin, Bilbo, and the rest of the dwarves, they now have to seek aid from a powerful stranger before taking on the dangers of the Mirkwood Forest without their wizard Gandalf. If they reach the human settlement of Lake Town, it will be time for the Hobbit Bilbo Baggins to fulfill his contract with the dwarves. The party must complete the journey to the Lonely Mountain, and burglar Baggins has to seek out the secret door that will give them access to the Horde of the Dragon Smaug, voiced and done motion capture by Benedict Cumberbatch. And where has Gandalf gone off to? And what is his secret business to the south? Well, you find that out in the movie. So, pretty much as you all know, most of the production was confirmed like throughout Hobbit Unexpected Journeys video, but most of the filming here, much like with the others, was finished during 2012, ending in July 2012. And then, during May 2013, additional shooting for the film and the Battle of Five Armies began in New Zealand and it lasted 10 weeks. And some unknown vehicles or drones were used for some shots of the film. After The Desolation of Smaug was shot and advertised around summer 2013, The Desolation of Smaug would premiere in Los Angeles on December 2nd, 2013, and was released in December 12th, 2013 in New Zealand, and on December 13th in the United States by Warner Bros. Pictures. The film had received much better reviews than Unexpected Journey, and grossed about $959 million worldwide at the box office. And it became the fourth highest grossing film of 2013. And the film had been nominated for Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Visual Effects. So, now as for my reaction. After that good first start of this trilogy, Unexpected Journey, I could not wait for the next movie to come out the next Christmas. Then, I saw the trailer around June 2013, and then it released December 2013, and I went and saw this opening weekend, much like with the last one. This time around, this movie, on the other hand, was eh. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it's not very great either. And rewatching it now, my thoughts are kind of the same. Like, the problem I've already listed. Like, Warner Brothers wanted another Lord of the Rings, so they made us 3 movies, not simply 2 like it was supposed to be. And there's just way too much green screen and CGI in this movie in a buck of scenes. Like, you could tell some of the green screen effects barely looked finished. Right here. Like, for those who think Unexpected Journey strays too far from the book, like, The Desolation of Smaug just kind of looks like the writers didn't even know there was a book. They tried too hard to change the story to overforce the connections to Lord of the Rings, but you already know it's connected to Lord of the Rings. Like, in the book, you already have Gandalf, you have Bilbo, you even had, like, Galadriel, Saruman coming back in Unexpected Journey. You know it's connected to Lord of the Rings. Right here. And, like, you reduce fan favorite characters to, like, 5-minute scenes and write new content that feels out of place. Like, hell, you know Legolas from Lord of the Rings? He's not in the Hobbit book. He's a fan favorite. Let's bring him back. If you read the book, you know how you kind of know how a story already kind of goes, and there's random action scenes every 10 minutes. Decapitations are supposed to be funny every 30, and the action comes at the cost of character developments. You have the 13 dwarves, Bilbo, Thorin, and the ones Bilbo doesn't interact with are Thorin and Balin, and you don't see him interact with much of the rest. When it comes to the other dwarf interactions, most of the other dwarves that are not Balin or Thorin interact with kind of mostly themselves. And you do, now it's nice to see some more elves in this movie. See more of the elves. But they kind of show up in every place in this movie, so... And the movie's called The Hobbit. This one's supposed to be kind of about the dwarf crew. Bilbo and the dwarves going to the mountain. We're supposed to kind of be more focused on them. Some scenes kind of feel you're more focused on the elves and Legolas and stuff, and Gandalf's scene, Gandalf just doesn't get too much to do in this film. He's kind of separate from the gang most of the film, and his scenes just kind of serve as an attempt to raise Hobbit and Lord of the Rings levels of epicness, and it just kind of didn't work for me. So how do we start off this movie? Well, continuing from right where the last one ended, Thorin, Bilbo, and the crew are being pursued by Azog and his orcs. They're pretty much ushered by Gandalf to this home of Dorne, the skin changer that takes the form of a bear. And then that night, Azog gets summoned by Dol Guldur and the Necromancer, and commands him to marshal the forces for war, and Azog delegates the hunt for Thorin to his son Bolg. After telling the company about the dangers of Mirkwood, and the Necromancer's rise and the Wood Elves being dangerous, Thorin escorts the company to the borders of Mirkwood, and Gandalf discovers the black speech imprinted in an old ruin, and of course the prior request by Galadriel in the last film, sorry about that. It prompts him to investigate the Nazgul tombs, where you pretty much know the Nazgul that are going to come back in Lord of the Rings, Sauron's forces. Before he has to leave the dwarf crew, he warns them to remain on the path that they're supposed to go on, but they get lost in the forest, and giant spirals ensnare them. Bilbo frees the dwarves with the help of that ring he found in during the game of riddles, and begins to understand the kind of dark influence when he drops the ring and kills the spire to have to go retrieve it. And once again, Martin Freeman's acting as Bilbo is still top notch. But in this one though, because there's too many characters, he just doesn't get much screen time here. You think his best scenes in the movie are easily the scenes he has with Smaug. Smaug as a character is fucking awesome, no doubt. Definitely I will get to him later though. There's this, most of the time, you have a 20-minute scene when he does, during the finale, the dwarves thinking they can defeat him, but since this is sadly the middle, and because they split into 3 movies, you know that's not gonna happen. And at that point, there's not really a possible way of defeating him until the next film. And Richard Armitage is still pretty good in the role of Thorin, where this time around Thorin's just there, kind of present, as the hard case leader of the dwarves, as problem with his father, the former king of the dwarves, being killed, and so he just wants revenge and justice, wants to reclaim the mountain. But the character here was kind of flatly written and plain. It's a little more dimension with the Lord of the Rings trilogy's mirror character, and I just never really felt much or cared much for this character right there. Even though the end of the first film, it seems like there's an arc of him trusting Bilbo, and he finally comes to trust that, so the character had an arc in the last one. This time around, he's kind of just the leader. I mean, he's not a bad character, but I kind of wish he was a little more strongly written. And Desolations of Smaug, just possesses some amazing scenery in New Zealand intertwined with the story and an immersive soundtrack from Howard's score. Once again, Howard's score does well with these films. The scenery of the films really amazes me with the storyline and the terrific casting options. They provide this kind of emotional substance to this fantasy saga. It has a nice little opening act, but as the movie kind of progresses, it does kind of get a little slow and tedious. Once they've once they've evaded Azog and they encounter Born and they encounter the Wood Elves, and it becomes like hosted kind of moronic and inane action sequences. Right here, like the Lord of the Rings action sequences felt very real, and they felt kind of a little better than the action sequences in these movies. There's subpar delivery of key lines. It's kind of like it's just kind of felt a little bit disappointing, and right here, and especially like when you meet the two central Wood Elf characters that do get a little, that sometimes kind of get a little more scenes than the dwarf crew were supposed to be following, Legolas and Turiel, who they saved like the dwarves just in time for being killed by the spiders, and like it does kind of lead to a problem. Like I've already mentioned, Legolas did not need to be in this trilogy. It's just a pointless decision because fans loved his character in Lord of the Rings, so Warner Bros. Decided we need to bring him back. Right here, which kind of makes no sense, and it just kind of adds a bit of a plot hole. This kind of adds a bit of a plot hole for this version of Middle-earth. Like, because in the book, the Hobbit book, he was not in the book. Yeah, there were elves in the Hobbit book, but Gandalf was in the Hobbit book. But Legolas was not even there. Like, and guys, I've read the book in high school. He was not in the book. Yeah, but yeah, he's a cool character and all. I liked his character in Lord of the Rings, but he just wasn't really needed. Just there to give a Lord of the Rings connection, that's kind of it. So anyway, after they encounter the spiders and are about to be killed by the spiders then get killed by the Wood Elves, led by Tauriel and Legolas. They capture the dwarves, they bring Thorin before their king Thorondil, played by Lee Pace. Thorin then confronts the king about his neglect of the dwarves, following Smaug's attack 6 years earlier, and he gets imprisoned with the other dwarves. So Bilbo, though, has avoided capture, so he helps them escape in the empty wine barrels that are sent down the stream. They get pursued by Wood Elves and ambushed by Bolg and his orc army, and results in a three-way battle as they rush down the river in the barrels, and a dwarf escapes like the grounds of their pursuers, but sadly Killy is wounded with a shaft, and so Thorondil seals off his kingdom when an orc captain reveals that this evil army is amassing in the south, and then Tauriel decides to leave and assist the dwarves, and Legolas goes after her. Then Gandalf and Radagast, they investigate the tombs of the Nazgul and they find them empty, and then finds out about the nine have been called to Dol Guldur and deduces that the evil Sauron has returned and is preparing for the war you will see in the trilogy that comes after this. And yeah, Sauron takes on that form of the iconic eye, and Gandalf and now you can tell how horrified Gandalf looks. Right there, and Ian McKellen does this scene very well. Like, he now sees the horror. Like, Sauron is back after it was presumed he was, like, defeated before the one guy that was supposed to destroy the ring chose not to, and then the Nazgul killed him eventually. And the ring then disappeared to the water. Then Smeagol found it, killed Deagle, ended up being thrown off into the woods all alone, and then became the creature Gollum as the ring drove him insane. And then Bilbo found the ring. And we're now on to this trilogy. So, the company then gets to Esgaroth by this bargeman called Bard. And then Bard then pretty much gets them to Lake Town. He's not well liked. You find out he's not well liked by the master of Lake Town. Right there. And of course, but one thing that really amazes the greedy master is that Thorin promises him a share of the mountain's treasure, but it's obvious he's probably not going to give the treasure to them. It's kind of obvious about that. But the master of Lake Town gives them the arms and he sends them off to the mountain, gets their blessing. But like the next day when they are about to leave, Killy then has to kind of remain behind at Bard's home. And so, along with like Philly and Beaufort and Ori, and one of the three doesn't volunteer to stay behind. One of them in what definitely is a funny moment actually misses the boat because he overslept because he got drunk. He kind of got drunk at a celebration, so he overslept. And he realizes last minute as like he just slowly wakes up from under the table that the boat's already taking off, and it's already long gone, so So he's kind of stuck. So he's stuck in Lake Town with those three. No, he's stuck in Lake Town with those three. Bilbo, though, then... once they get to the Lonely Mountain, Bilbo then discovers the hidden entrance in a Lonely Mountain, and the dwarves sent him inside to retrieve the Arkenstone, but before that, though, like, once they do get to the entrance, they see it's kind of like... There's, like, no keyhole with the key they have, and so the dwarves are about to give up and leave. Bilbo doesn't want to give up. And then he realizes the moonlight kind of shows the key, and he calls for them to come back, but he thinks they're long gone. When he's about to use it, he almost drops the key, but Thorin steps in, though, and prevents the key from falling by catching it with his foot. And so they go inside. They send him inside, and Balin sends him inside to retrieve the Arkenstone. But once he's inside, we then get to the best character of the film, the number one best thing I liked, Smaug. He accidentally awakens Smaug, who reveals his knowledge of both the dwarves' plot and the return of Sauron. And right here, guys, I absolutely love the design of Smaug. I love Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as the character. Easily the best part of the film. And the CGI on him is and for the CGI in this movie, he easily has the best CGI. But when it comes to like the rest of like the action scenes, because the action scenes do kind of feel a little bit more a bit silly before you get to Smaug and just not really all that threatening. They look nice though, they're pleasant to follow. And the CGI effects, so the problem with the CGI effects in the action scenes, when it comes to Lord of the Rings' CGI, the CGI looked very real. You actually they actually put some effort in the CGI in Lord of the Rings. The CGI here, you could tell some of this looks like half-assed green screen, because some of the CGI here looks fake. Like the part where Legolas jumps over the dwarves' head, or like during some like overly brightness, like some of the scenes feel a little overly bright, and like during kind of more colder areas. That's the problem I have with these Hobbit movies. This trilogy, anyways. Is the CGI here. There's also some cheesy scenes, like, it's not just Legolas with the dwarves I have a problem with kind of being in this movie. The problem with Legolas is, he was just added in to please the Lord of the Rings fans. This one, like, Tauriel being the other character, I'm not a fan of Tauriel. Yeah, because, like, also kind of a pointless character in my eyes. And, like, they have also this subplot between Tauriel and Killy. That's just cheesy and very needless and unnecessary. Like, as soon as Killy meets Tauriel, he automatically just falls in love with her. And when they're about to be in prison, he's like, you forgot to check my trousers, I may have something in there. Or nothing at all. This is not a subplot I want to see in something like Peter Jackson's Middle-earth. Like, I don't think this whole subplot was Peter Jackson's idea at all. I'm pretty sure this was probably Warner Brothers'. Like, the romance stuff in Lord of the Rings was actually well done. Right here. Like, Liv Tyler, Viggo Mortensen, their romance was pretty well done. They had limited scenes, but the thing is, like, you actually did kind of like the romance scenes they briefly had. Right there. And in the end of Return of the King, it was like their subplot was actually earned. Right there. This whole movie kind of looks like as if the first 30 minutes got like skipped and you cut the last 30. Like, they frequently do mention and show the One Ring here. Like, yeah, this is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But no, like, the thing is, though, like, around the time the Hobbits are taking place, not everybody knows yet about the One Ring, except for Bilbo and Gandalf. Gandalf's the one person that really knows about that ring. So apparently they kind of make it look like almost everybody seems to know about that. And it just kind of misses the essence of the mythology. Like, there's not really spark of the fairy tale-like tone of the book. Like, they just kind of replace Tolkien's magic by the clash of weapons. And once the characters enter Mirkwood, like, Jackson then goes into fight mode, or Warner Bros. Goes into fight mode, and they start throwing this vast array of tricks on the screen. such as like cheap sound effects or cheap over brightness, hyperkinetic camera work, and the never-ending bombastic soundtrack, which is awesome to listen to. And the approach of overwhelming astounding is kind of just stretched across the whole film, and not trying to build atmosphere. It just chooses like every scene wherever it takes place to let stuff culminate into an attack of orcs or loud sword clashing, a wall chase, or a mindless duel with some roaring troll. Like that happened to Lord of the Rings. Except the thing is, though, the reason why they kept having to fight orcs throughout their entire journey was because Sauron was sending the orcs after the Fellowship because he knew the Fellowship had the ring. He knew Frodo had the ring and was trying to get the orcs to go after them so they could go retrieve it, to prevent his defeat, so he could still conquer Middle Earth. That's why you kept seeing a bunch of orc fights throughout all of Lord of the Rings. Sauron was trying to make sure that ring never got destroyed. Right here, a majority of the orcs, though, they had a connection to the War of Thorin, especially with the Azog character, but I'm pretty sure most of these orcs don't know about Smaug. So yeah. So we get back to Lake Town, where the four dwarves like Philly, Killy, Bofur, and Oil have to remain, whereas three of them are staying by to tend to Killy's injuries. One of them got drunk. It gets revealed in Lake Town that Bard's actually descendant of the last ruler of Dale, and he possesses the last black arrow that's capable of killing Smaug. At first, Bard refused to help them out because after Thorin kind of shut off his warnings of going to the Lonely Mountain, because he very well knew Smaug would eventually be released and would go wreak havoc, and didn't want that to happen. But Thorin disregarded his warnings and still wanted to pursue the Lonely Mountain. But Bard then has a change of mind and decides to still help them out. And he reveals that he has that black arrow, and it's because he also feared what will happen in the mountain. But when he tries to, eventually though that night, sadly though, the master of Lake Town arrests him. But before he gets arrested, he has his son hide the arrow to prevent it from being seen. So then, after that, Bolg and his orc army, who are looking for Thorin, they infiltrate the town, they attack the four dwarves, but Tauriel and Legolas arrive, and they quickly dispatch them. The thing is, if you ever read the Hobbit book, the Hobbit's supposed to be a story, a brilliantly beautiful adventure story. Not really supposed to be too much of a battle. Desolation of Smaug is kind of it just really kind of just feels like this action movie that bears a little resemblance to the joy of the book. Great chapters like The House of Bourne, no. Warner Bros. Just doesn't want to waste time with that crap, they just feel we need to rush to get into another battle scene here. When Bilbo rescues Thorin and the crew out of prison, that's probably, this happened, the barrel scene was in the book, but how the movie does it feels very ridiculous. Where they feel the dwarves are riding in animated water in this animated river. They're hiding in barrels and they're floating down the river. The way the movie executes that, it literally feels like a cartoon. Right here. It just feels like you're watching a cartoon in that scene. And I know some people will get mad at me for not really liking this movie as much, but this is just my honest opinion. These films. The Lord of the Rings films I love. The Hobbit films I'm alright on. I mean, I liked Unexpected Journey, but the rest after that, alright with this. You'll find out my reaction to the next one in the next review. Some of the Lake Town scenes are good. You have the sympathetic Bard, who's a likable character, and his family. They're trying to stop Thorin from entering the mountain because they know what will happen, but they fail to stop them. But he still helps out the other four dwarves that have to remain behind. They have to kind of remain behind. And then the final scenes in the mountain with Smaug are definitely the best parts of the movie. This is the part I was really wanting to see the whole entire film. This is the part when you're watching this film. This is where they're supposed to get to Smaug. This is the part you're waiting to see. This is what you want to see happen. Right there. And Smaug is very well done. They really got Smaug right. The Smaug scenes feel like they were directed by Jackson. right there, like in just the CGI Smaug is terrific. Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Smaug is terrific. And the scenes he has with Bilbo are terrific. Right there, and you really feel like this Smaug character is such a threat. But then, of course, after a few minutes of them, like, fighting Smaug, the finale of the movie, this movie literally ends on one of the cheapest, laziest, non-given-a-fuck cliffhangers I have ever seen. Whereas how this finale goes, where we cut to, like, Gandalf, he infiltrates Dol Guldur, after sending Radagast to warn Galadriel of their discovery at the tombs. Then he finds and cures Thrain before they get ambushed by Azog, and the Necromancer overpowers and defeats Gandalf, and reveals himself as Sauron. Right there, and so Gandalf watches helplessly as Azog and an orc army march from Dol Guldur towards the Lonely Mountain. Like, he's now watching that. They're now gonna go to... He's watching, like, the orc army go to the Lonely Mountain. He now knows Sauron really is back. And he's now horrified that the war for the One Ring is beginning again. He's the only one that knows that Bilbo found that ring. Right there, and so the Lord of the Rings is about to begin. Y'all know how that trilogy's gonna go. And then, of course, we get to the mountain again, where Bilbo and the dwarves, they rekindle the mountain's forge using Smaug's flames, and they melt this large golden statue. They hope that it'll bury Smaug alive in gold. Obviously, they do so, but you know it doesn't work, because if you've read the book, you know it doesn't work, and Smaug emerges from the gold. He stumbles out of the mountain, and he tells Bilbo, "You care about these people. Well, you can watch them all die." And then after he breaks out of the gold, I'll show you guys revenge. And he sets off to destroy Lake, and pretty much, he sets off to destroy Lake Town. Bard is warning them that Smaug is coming. And then the last shot you get is, "I am fire. I am death." And then Smaug then just flies off to Lake Town. And the last scene you see is literally Bilbo just staring off, saying, "What have we done?" And the film cuts to black, and then Ed Sheeran's "Oh Misty Eye" plays and says directed, and then they see directed by Peter Jackson. That's the end of this second chapter. And I know a lot of people were pretty much stunned by this cliffhanger, but I wasn't, because for one, you know Smaug's just gonna die in the next one. Because he dies when he gets to Lake Town in the book. You know how it's just gonna... he's not even gonna survive the last one, and so this cliffhanger is kind of pointless. I feel like the movie should have literally ended with Smaug being killed. Right there, the Lake Town... The opening 10 minutes of Battle 5 Armies should have been the ending of this movie. That would have been way better. But let's just end it on an abrupt note for a cheap shock, which is not going to matter anyway. Because when this first came out, I was pretty much like, people are shocked by this. Like, he's going to die in the next movie next year. Calm down. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of this cliffhanger, to be honest. I feel like a cliffhanger like this could have, if there was a trilogy that was not based off a book series, a cliffhanger like this would work if you're setting up a third movie. Right there. But this was based off of one book that just got split into more movies for money. So, this cliffhanger ain't gonna matter. So you just don't really care. But that is how the movie ends. And if you had first saw this around December 2013, back when this first came out, you would pretty much have to wait until December 2014 to see Smaug get killed. Yeah. When it came to Unexpected Journey's ending, that left me excited for this movie. This one's ending just left me going, whatever. Because I read the book. So it doesn't matter. So this cliffhanger will not matter by the next movie. Regardless. And you know he'll just die in the next film. Yeah. Look, I'm sorry, guys. This is the first time I haven't done review. I have not done reviews in weeks, so sorry if I feel so off. I took a bit of a long hiatus from reviews, so this is the first time I've gotten back to reviews. But now, do I have good qualities for the film? The performances I still like. I like Martin Freeman's performance as Bilbo. I like Ian McKellen's performance as Gandalf the Grey. I also like Kate Blanchett's performance as Galadriel. Like Richard Armitage's performance as Thorin. Not too big in the Thorin character, but I like Richard Armitage's performance. And despite him only coming back for fan service, Orlando Bloom still does give a good performance as Legolas. And Lee Pace also gives a good performance as the Elf King. And Smaug, the best performance and character of the movie easily goes to Benedict Cumberbatch. He voices and does the motion capture work of the dragon, and it's extremely well done. It's a sequence that has so much tension, clever dialogue, and intense action and surprise. Like, when you see Smaug, this is the kind of stuff you want to see once you get to this character. This is the character you've been wanting to see the whole film. This is the sequence you want to see finally happen. Right there. This is what the movie's supposed to be about. Like, the scenes with Smaug are what make the film enjoyable at times. And also the lake town scenes at the beginning of the movie before you get to the actual start of the movie, they're also pretty decent. And the lake town has actually a pretty cool setting. And the settings for New Zealand settings and the cinematography are pretty enjoyable. But other than those guys, The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug, it's not terrible, but it's not really a great flick either. And it's just kind of disappointing for a middle half of the story. So in the end, guys, I would honestly just stream The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug if you are interested in seeing how the rest of the story continues after Unexpected Journey, but don't expect it to be something like the book or expect it to be as grand as Unexpected Journey or as grand as The Lord of the Rings, once again. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug. And if we're going to rank The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you liked Unexpected Journey and want to see how Bilbo's story continues on film, then I would probably just stream this one online because it feels more kind of flat compared to the first entry of the trilogy, and it isn't really that memorable. And if we're going to rank The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug, I'm going to give The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug a 6 out of 10. There we go, guys. That wraps up my review for The Desolation of Smaug. Well, that's all done. There's only one more left. Yeah. The battle is left. That's going to be quite an interesting rewatch. But tell me in the comments down below what you guys thought about The Desolation of Smaug, whether you love this movie, or whether you also think this movie's just alright, or whether you among the crowd that thinks this is the best of the Hobbit trilogy. And until then, guys, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.